Hello, everyone. My name is Fadi Saba. I'm an activist here in San Jose, the South Bay area, and I was one of the first, or I was elected to the KPFA board the first time they had an election after the 1999 revolt against the total control, authoritarian control by management, by Pacifica management. We were able to win. There was tent city in Berkeley outside the building, the KPFA studios. And at that time, there was a lot of interest in a democratic system, democratic stations, democratic Pacifica. And so we were part of that. Many of us were part of that. And we were able to get the station back and the network back with a new constitution and elections. At first, the first time I was elected was before that actually was done. It was a local advisory board. And now it's local station board because it has theoretically more power. It has power for the people, can the listener sponsors can help in driving the direction of our station, which is really an important thing. Unfortunately, however, what I noticed while I was there is that some people in management and those who are supporting them were trying to find ways to usurp that community power, which is really important. One example is where the management many years ago, almost actually 20 years ago now, 15 years ago, the management got rid of a committee made up of community and staff, both volunteer and paid staff and management, where they come together and figure out what programs, because there are only 24 hours in a day. You can't make it 48 hours in a day. You can't, there are no more time slots in a day to add new shows, right? There has to be a way to kind of figure out, okay, what would be the best? What do we want? And rather than doing that, they got rid of this committee, the program committee. It's no longer was no longer in use. It was gotten rid of by management unilaterally, and the LSB, the local station board, didn't do anything about that. And that is one of the problems that I've noticed with the local station board. I've noticed that the local station board often has been rubber stampers, people who rubber stamp management, and that is a true problem here. Also, it's really important for the community. And again, I am speaking as a community member and as a Palestinian community member, of course. It is really important for us to have our voice in this. This is a community station, remember that. And it is a community network. It's listener sponsored, but that's really people's radio. And so the people should be a part of it. It's not micromanagement, it's just being part of the whole process in a consensus manner. All right, and all of these different steps have been taken away, one piece at a time. And so that is a problem. Currently, right now, one of the issues is Palestine. As everyone knows, there's a genocide. Israel is and has been for over 9 months, actually nearly 10 months, attacking and obliterating people. According to the Lancet journal out of Britain, there's possibly an upward of 186,000 people who've been killed. 40,000 approximately have been accounted for because those who died, were killed, made it through the hospital system, but so many others were not. They were eaten by dogs. They were buried quickly by family members, and so on and so forth, because Israel bombed out living daylights out of the hospitals and all other forms of shelter. So why do I bring that up? It's because the types of programming at times isn't progressive enough to challenge, for example, the news. I called up the news station about a month ago because I didn't hear during the the highlights, in the first 5 minutes of, at that time it was Hard Knock Radio. I was about to watch listen to Hard Knock Radio, and just before that there's the news portion, right? About 4 or 5 minute news portion. And there was nothing about Palestine. I called up and this gentleman answers, whose name I do not recall right now. And he answers, and I said, well, I'm surprised. Why isn't Palestine? He's like, well, nothing has changed. People are just being killed. I'm like, so out of sight, out of mind. It's like, oh, well, it's still happening, but who cares? Or maybe not who cares. They do care, but let's not report on it because it's not as important right now. It's the same thing over and over again, rather than making sure that it's out there, upfront, all the time. And so the LSB should be able to make these kinds of commentaries so that, we all have some, how shall I put it, some feedback, right? Right now, there is no real way to have feedback at the station, even though it's people's radio, listener-sponsored radio. And so I hope that you will vote for the right slate, the slate that has some awesome folks on it, including Professor Abdul Hadi. Rabab Abdul Hadi is a professor at San Francisco State University, and for several years, many years, the university has been trying to get rid of her every single possible way. And they have been horrible towards her because she is Palestinian. She's willing to stand up to the powers that be and fight for the rights of marginalized peoples, or not just here in the United States, but throughout the world, including Palestinians. And that's really important. One of the things I would like to remind people, or if you didn't know, let you know, she had this amazing program. Again, this is a university, right? And universities are a place of discussing different ideas, different thoughts, right? It's a place where free speech must exist at all times. And this, what happened is through Zoom, and this is during the pandemic period, so several years ago, she had several folks on Palestinian liberation, including lThe. And because lThe was going to be on it, Zionists did make a big deal out of it. The university then made sure that it was not part of it. They went through Zoom, they placed pressure on Zoom to cancel it. And so we're talking about, and I'm on Zoom right now, but we're talking about a woman, a professor, a person of color who has been fighting for justice, and she would be an awesome member on this, including the entire slate of hers. Believe it or not, there are progressive and activists in the San Jose area. All right. I know a lot of people, we hear about Berkeley, we hear about Oakland, we hear about San Francisco, right? We don't hear a whole lot about other areas around the Bay, not just San Jose, but Fremont, Hayward. We don't hear about San Mateo. We don't hear beyond those three cities, right? And understandably so in some ways, because Pacifica, KPFA, is located in Berkeley, right? And there is a certain radius that they cover. Even San Francisco does not get the coverage that Oakland, Berkeley does. When I was on the board on the LSB, and I had worked with Eileen Alfender at the time, who was one of the co-directors of the news department, in trying to get a reporter down here in the South Bay. The San Jose Peace and Justice Center offered its space to store the microphones, the things that reporters need to be able to get that, a place where someone can write the stories, and obviously not necessarily to be here daily, but on certain events. And for a while, the KPFA news department did do some of that. They did cover South Bay issues, activist issues down here, things that were very important, labor issues, the closure of a very important hospital, regional hospital in downtown San Jose with a trauma center, for example, that serves a relatively poor area. These things were covered, but in the past 10 years, I don't think there's been any coverage unless it was called into by an average person down here in San Jose, So, which is unfortunate, and I'd love to see that, and volunteer reporters possibly, where there'd be some, a way to train folks to be those reporters, to have actual personnel making it down here. I know Max Pringle was down here, and then he was moved to Sacramento to cover the Capitol beat kind of a thing. So he was the one who was down in San Jose for a bit. And thank you, everybody. And again, don't forget to vote. Rescue Pacifica Slate.